Chapter 117. Tan Xiao had never refused a business deal that could bring him money. In this era of material desires, money was the yardstick to measure success and failure. He knew the importance of money too well. Money could travel anywhere in the world, but without it, it would be difficult to move a single step. For the sake of cultivation and materials, Tan Xiao had to think about how to make a fortune even if he was tied to the university. Zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. He had been in the immortal world for thousands of years and could be said to be proficient in everything. Drawing a building design was a piece of cake for him. He was confident that the design he drew would definitely become a landmark building in this world. It would make everyone's eyes light up. A strange light flashed in Long Zhengyu's eyes as he slowly said, "I have two friends from the capital. They are preparing to build a skyscraper in Star City. They want the most majestic, unique, and iconic building. Our Long family has decided to cooperate with them. The total investment from the three parties is 5 billion yuan. Of course, we'll consider adding more funds if there is a problem in the future. As for the 10% shares, it won't change even if we add more funds in the future." 5 billion? Tan Xiao was tongue-tied as he looked at Long Zhengyu's serious expression. It took him a long time to come back to his senses. He wasn't shocked by the 5 billion yuan investment, but the 10% shares that caught him off guard. Those shares were equivalent to being given away for free. Tan Xiao came back to his senses and was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh as he said, "Using 500 million to buy a design? Do you have money to burn?" Long Zhenyu said with a smile, 500 million to buy a design may be a fantasy story. But I think it's worth it, and they will also feel that it's worth it. You must know that 500 million is not only buying a design, but also buying a friendship that will tie you to our chariot. Those two friends heard about you from me, and they really want to make friends with you." "Friends?" Tan Xiao snorted inwardly, but on the surface, he maintained his composure and said, "Are they so confident that they can be friends with me?" Long Zhenyu said with a smile, "There's a saying that the heavens will not disappoint those who are willing. Whether we can be friends or not depends on our future interactions. Now, you just need to answer me. Are you willing to accept this deal?" "Yes, why wouldn't I?" Tang Xiao raised his brows and spoke with a tone of affirmation. Long Zhenyu took out a cigarette and was about to light it when he suddenly sensed something. He looked at Tan Xiao and asked, "You don't mind, do you?" Tan Xiao shook his head and said, "When do I need to give you the architectural design?" Long Zhenyu said, "There's no hurry for the time being. The initial stage of the project requires 2 months of preparation. In a few days we will enclose the land, and I will take you there to have a look. Then you can start drawing the design. Brother Tang, your mission is the key, don't let me down." "I won't let you down," Tan Xiao said lightly. Since he was paid, he had to work for them. For someone like Tang Xiao who pursued perfection, he would naturally try his best to design a qualified architectural design draft. However, he was also thinking about another issue, the replanning of Nine Dragons Island. In his opinion, the foreign tycoon's transformation of Nine Dragons Island was flawed. Most importantly, the 9 spiritual veins were not properly utilized. Nine Dragons Island was a treasured land with good feng shui, and he would never recklessly waste it. Long Zhenyu recalled the design drawing drawn by Tan Xiao for Walled Hill Village, and the worry in his heart vanished in an instant. Since Tang Xiao dared to accept this business deal, he believed that he would be able to satisfy him. Even those two fellows would be shocked when the time came. "I'm at ease with you handling it," Long Zhenyu affirmed. "Is there anything else?" Tan Xiao asked. Long Zhenyu forced a smile and said, "Brother Tang, you're asking me to leave. All right, I won't bother you any more since you have other things to do. Just wait for my news. I'll contact you once the land is delineated." "All right." Tan Xiao nodded. After sending Long Zhenyu away, Tan Xiao went into the warehouse. He was eager to concoct the Golden Bell liquid and strive to improve his cultivation. This time, he had prepared sufficient materials. Whether it was the fierce beast's bones or the purchased medicinal herbs, he could try it more than a dozen times. Inside the warehouse, Tan Xiao came to the iron pot, poured half a pot of water, and began to boil the water. The concoction of the Golden Bell liquid required a lot of boiling water. When the water was boiling, he put the fierce beast's bones, teeth, tendons, and other materials into the water in order. When the water in the pot was nearly half boiled, he put several medicinal herbs into the iron pot. The fierce beast's bones were several times harder than those of ordinary wild beasts. It was reasonable to say that it would be very difficult to melt them in boiling water. However, the medicinal herbs Tang Xiu added had a very strong corrosive effect. He was a bit regretful that he had used up the poisonous demon rattan he got last time, otherwise, the effect would be better. Add water. Half an hour later, only about 2 bowls of water were left in the half pot, and the color of the liquid had turned bright red. As Tang Xiu poured the water, he began to crush the green jade essence into powder. When the liquid boiled again, he sprinkled the green jade essence into it. This time, without the stirring of the poisonous demon rattan, Tang Xiu had already prepared a clean steel pipe. When he stirred the liquid, he put the remaining medicinal herbs into the iron pot in order. The color of the bright red liquid gradually began to change into an azure liquid with the addition of concentrated medicinal herbs. Time passed again. When there were only about 2 bowls of the azure liquid left, Tang Xiu's face showed a satisfied smile. He didn't expect that the first concoction of the Golden Bell liquid would be so smooth. As long as he was careful, he could succeed in one try. He took out the 500-year-old ginseng, broke it, and put it into the pot. When there was only about 1 bowl of the azure liquid left, he put the remaining half of the ginseng into it again. The rich medicinal fragrance permeated the entire warehouse. Because of the addition of the ginseng, the color of the liquid changed from blue to gold again. Specks of golden light sparkled in the medicinal liquid like they were alive, moving and mysterious. It's done! Tang Xiu's eyes lit up, his heartbeat accelerated, and his eyes burst with ecstasy. When there was only half a bowl of the Golden Bell liquid left in the pot, Tang Xiu did not hesitate to take off all his clothes. He carefully scooped half a spoonful and poured it into his palm. Hiss! The hot golden liquid scalded Tang Xiu's skin. Fortunately, Tang Xiu's strong willpower was able to bear the high temperature and did not spill it out. Only by experiencing the bitterness can one become a superior person. Tang Xiu's eyes flashed with madness, and then he did not hesitate to apply the Golden Bell liquid in his palm to his body. The burning sensation made him suck in a breath of cold air, but he kept increasing the speed of his application. From his wrist, to his arm, then to his shoulder, neck, waist, legs, feet. The Golden Bell liquid was constantly consumed, and the area of application on Tang Xiu's body was constantly increasing. When the Golden Bell liquid was about to be used up, Tang Xiu's whole body had been smeared. At this moment, if an outsider saw Tang Xiu, he would definitely cover his mouth with a fearful expression on his face. His entire body was crimson, like a cooked shrimp. His skin was broken and his flesh was rotten. He was trembling violently, and every tendon of his body was bulging. The cold water in his body drilled out from the pores that had long been invisible, mixed with blood, and looked particularly terrible. There are 2 spoonfuls left. Tang Xiu was cruel to others, but he was even more cruel to himself. He took out 2 spoonfuls of the Golden Bell liquid and smeared it on the 2 most vulnerable parts of his body, which were his lower body and neck. Roar! The heart-wrenching pain made Tang Xiu's eyes become blood red. The second time he smeared the Golden Bell liquid, the pain was like adding oil to the fire, multiplying exponentially. Creak! The door of the storeroom was pushed open. Mu Qingping, wearing an apron, was holding a bowl of supper in her hand. When she stepped into the storeroom and saw Tang Xiu's appearance, her pupils violently contracted, her body trembled a bit, and the porcelain bowl in her hand fell to the ground, smashing into pieces. If she had not recognized Tang Xiu, perhaps she would have already turned around and ran away. At this moment, although Tang Xiu was naked, and even his lower body was as hard as iron, appearing magnificent and huge, Mu Qingping did not have the slightest embarrassment and shame. Her heartbeat accelerated because of Tang Xiu's miserable appearance. She had never seen a person who could be miserable and terrifying to such an extent. Tang Xiu did not notice the arrival of Mu Qingping. He did not even hear the sound of the porcelain bowl being smashed. His mind was completely focused on his own body. While enduring the burning pain, according to the cultivation route of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, he crazily revolved the star force in his body. The energy contained in the golden bell liquid was like a tide washing Tan Xiu's body, and the star force revolved in his meridians. In coordination with the energy of the golden bell liquid, wave after wave rushed to the surface of his body. The star force and the energy gradually fused, forming a special energy body. This energy body, in the cultivation state of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, nourished and repaired Tan Xiu's badly mutilated body. Gradually, the blood and cold water solidified, forming a blood scab. In the invisible skin layer, the newly formed energy, in the process of repair and nourishment, was torn again and again, refined again and again. As the saying goes, thousands of times of tempering, a divine weapon will be forged. Tan Xiu's skin layer was like a divine weapon that had been tempered thousands of times. Every time it was torn, it was repaired. Every time new energy surged, the flexibility and firmness of the skin were enhanced and transformed. In the skin layer, it was cut open layer by layer. But the surging of the new energy filled the empty place, as if the new energy was a part of Tan Xiu's body. From the outside, Tan Xiu's body has been wrapped in a thick blood scab, like a heavy cocoon. Mu Qingping stood like a sculpture in the warehouse door, her eyes unblinkingly looking at Tan Xiu. She found that Tan Xiu's body was surrounded by a sparkling golden light, as if a Buddha had descended, full of sacred aura. Chapter 118. The starry sky was bright and the heat wave was invading. In the depths of the vast starry sky, the stars seemed to have received a mysterious call. The originally dim starry sky was suddenly shrouded by the halos emitted by the stars, layer upon layer, illuminating as if it was daytime. Imperceptibly, a huge amount of star power, like a tide, surged toward the direction of Earth, and its target was Tan Xiu, who was cultivating in the villa in the South Gate town. Mu Qingping sobered up from the shock. Although Tan Xiu did not seem to be in danger, the strange scene still attracted her. She guessed that Tan Xiu was cultivating, but she had never heard of such a terrifying cultivation method. She was even a little worried in her heart. If her daughter had to experience this kind of thing in the future, then, after a long while, Mu Qingping slowly withdrew from the door and closed it from the outside. Inside the warehouse, Tan Xiu maintained his cultivation posture, crazily absorbing the star power from all directions. The 9 stars in his dantian, along with the influx of star power, continued to expand. So much so that Tan Xiu's dantian crazily expanded. Fine cracks appeared on the walls of his dantian, which were filled, repaired, and nourished by the star power. Boom, boom. At the moment when Tan Xiu was immersed in deep cultivation, the 9 stars in his dantian seemed to have expanded to the limit, and a violent aura erupted in all directions. Tan Xiu's eyes turned black, and an unprecedented pain almost made him howl. His consciousness was as firm as a stone. Although he was drowned in pain, an ecstatic expression appeared on his ferocious face. Through his consciousness, he clearly saw that the original 9 stars in his dantian had turned into 18 stars. These 18 stars exuded a sparkling light, and the volume was almost the same as before. What surprised Tan Xiu the most was that the star power in his body, which had reached the limit, had now become sparse, but the space in his dantian, which was enough to accommodate the star power, had expanded by more than 10 times. Is this the skin-strengthening realm? Tan Xiu slowly opened his eyes. When the 2 balls of light disappeared from his eyes, the thick scabs on his body cracked open like a spider web. As his body trembled, pieces of blood scabs fell to the ground. Clench your fist. Bombardment. Tan Xiu could clearly hear the sound of air exploding from his fist. 20,000 jin. The satisfaction on Tan Xiu's face deepened. With the improvement of his cultivation, his physique and strength had also increased by several times. He was now confident that if he were to encounter those A-class criminals who sold human organs again, even if they were armed, he would be able to kill them head-on. The Qi refinement realm could only be slightly stronger than ordinary people. Only when he reached the skin-strengthening realm could he be considered to have the ability to protect himself. Even if he encountered those martial arts grandmasters, he could still defeat them. Now that I have broken through to the skin-strengthening stage, what I need to do next is to practice seriously and fill up the star power in my dantian as soon as possible. At that time, he could try to break through to the peak of the skin-strengthening stage. If I reach the bone-refining stage, the number of stars in my dantian can reach up to 36. At that time, my strength will definitely become stronger. Tan Xiao put on his clothes. He did not tidy up the messy things in the warehouse and quickly entered the villa. When he was practicing, because his physique was tempered, the impurities in his body were discharged. Although the blood scabs had fallen off, the stench was still there. Therefore, he quickly went to the bathroom and used soap and shower gel to clean himself several times. Only then did the stench on his body was completely removed. After taking a bath and changing into clean clothes, Tan Xiao came to the living room in high spirits. Looking at Mu Qingping, who was in a daze on the sofa, Tan Xiao asked, "I have been practicing all night, right? Now I am a little hungry, give me something to eat." Not long after Mu Qingping sat in the living room, she suddenly heard Tan Xiao's words. She suddenly jumped up from the sofa and looked at Tan Xiao with a bit of fear in her eyes. She saw that Tan Xiao was the same as before, except that his skin seemed to be whiter. Your body." Mu Qingping's lips squirmed a few times as she whispered. Tan Xiao stared blankly for a moment. He immediately remembered that when he left the warehouse, he found the broken porcelain bowls on the ground, as well as the dried and hard things. He was suddenly surprised and said, "You went to the warehouse? Did you see me practicing?" Mu Qingping hurriedly said, "I wanted to give you some supper, but I didn't expect you to be practicing. Moreover, your body at that time." Tan Xiao recalled the scene of his naked body practicing, which was unexpectedly seen by Mu Qingping. Suddenly, a bit of embarrassment appeared on his face. He looked up and rubbed his brows as he said with a wry smile, "My body is fine, and it's even better than before. Can you give me something to eat? I'm really hungry." Mu Qingping quickly said, Okay, I'll cook for you now. You've been practicing for 3 days, how can you not be hungry?" Tan Xiao involuntarily exclaimed, "What? You said I've been practicing for 3 days?" Mu Qingping nodded and said, "Yes. You've been practicing in the warehouse for 3 days and 4 nights. I originally thought that practicing was very simple, but I didn't expect it to be so time-consuming." Tan Xiao's mouth twitched a few times as he helplessly walked to the sofa and sat down. He originally thought that concocting the golden bell liquid and breaking through his cultivation would only take him 2 days at most. He didn't expect that it would take him 3 days and 4 nights. Gong Daling only gave him a week's vacation at the university. According to the vacation time, he was already late by 2 days. When I return to the university, I guess I'll be severely criticized by Han Qingwu, right? Tan Xiao secretly smiled wryly inside. Suddenly, Mu Qingping, who had just entered the kitchen, came out wearing an apron. She looked at Tan Xiao and said, "Divine Dr. Tang, when you were cultivating, I went to your room to clean up and happened to hear your cell phone ringing. I paid attention to it for the past 2 days and found that it rang dozens of times a day." "I got it." Tan Xiao stared blankly for a moment before he immediately jumped up from the sofa and rushed to the stairs. After returning to the bedroom, he grabbed his cell phone and looked at the screen showing more than 100 missed calls and dozens of unread text messages. His mouth twitched a few times and his eyes were filled with helplessness. He didn't need to think about it. Among these more than 100 missed calls, there must be Han Qingwu's call. Sure enough, when Tan Xiao opened the missed calls interface, he saw the number of calls Han Qingwu had made to him. 24. It was not a lot. Yuan Chuling, 42 missed calls. Long Zhengyu, 19 missed calls. Long Zhenglin, 32 missed calls. Chen Zhizhong, 6 missed calls, and 2 missed calls from unknown numbers. Tang Xiao slightly nodded in response. His eyes then swept over the names of the others. Yuan Chuling, 42 missed calls. Long Zhengyu, 19 missed calls. Long Zhenglin, 32 missed calls. And Chen Zhizhong, 6 missed calls. Tan Xiao's eyes stopped at the last name and suddenly frowned. This missed call was from Ban's Ho, a total of 12 missed calls. Almost without hesitation, he called Ban's Ho back. He was very clear that if it was not something important, Ban's Ho would never call him so many times. Furthermore, the problem was likely related to his mother. "Hello, is this boss?" A hurried voice came from the phone. "It's me," Tan Xiao said with a deep voice. "You called me more than a dozen times. What's the matter?" "Boss, if you have time, you'd better come to the hospital. Star City Chinese Medical Hospital." Ban Xiao's voice came again. Tan Xiao's breath stagnated. His complexion turned particularly unsightly as he shouted, "Did something happen to my mother?" Ban Ho said, "Yes. Big Boss was injured by someone. The injury is not serious, but she needs to rest for a few months. Ding Zi, I, and the others are here." "Give me the specific location," Tan Xiao said as he rushed out of the bedroom. "Star City Chinese Medical Hospital's inpatient department, 6th floor, room 405. Boss, there's something I must tell you in advance. The person who injured your mother is called Tai Long, and he seems to be very powerful. Ban's Ho and I are also injured, but we don't dare to go out of the hospital because the other party has sent a lot of people near the hospital. As long as we go out, we will be beaten up. The other party said that if we don't apologize to them, we will never be able to go out of the hospital." "Bastard!" A cold, murderous intent burst out from Tan Xiao's eyes. He quickly hung up the phone and sprinted out of the villa with his fastest speed. Just as he sprinted to the villa's square, he happened to meet Long Shuiyao, who was accompanied by several property management personnel who were inspecting the villa complex's environment. Tan Xiao strode to the front of Long Shuiyao and found that several property management personnel accompanying Long Shuiyao were looking at him as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Tan Xiao ignored them and looked at Long Shuiyao as he spoke with a sinking tone. "Do you have a car?" "Yes." Long Shuiyao looked at the gloomy expression on Tan Xiao's face. A strange emotion rose in her heart, but she still answered honestly. Tan Xiao said, "Immediately send me to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. I have an urgent matter." "All right." Long Shuiyao hesitated for a moment before she nodded and complied. She looked at the several accompanying personnel and said, "Let's stop here for now. We'll discuss the unsolved problems another day. All of you, go to your own things." After saying that, she turned around and walked toward the parking lot of the property management office. Soon, she took Tan Xiao to a white BMW. After opening the door, she looked at Tan Xiao and asked, "Do you want to drive or should I?" "I don't have a driver's license," said Tan Xiao. Long Shuiyao looked at Tan Xiao with a strange expression. With Tan Xiao's age, shouldn't he have long reached the age to take the driver's license test? Furthermore, his identity was not ordinary, so how could he not have a driver's license? However, she didn't ask the question in her heart, but nodded and sat in the driver's seat. After the car started, she looked at Tan Xiao on the front seat and said, "Is there anything I can help with? I have an acquaintance in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital." "I'm not sure yet. Let's talk about it later," said Tan Xiao. Long Shuiyao saw that Tan Xiao didn't directly refuse her, so she knew that her guess was correct. Tan Xiao must have someone he cared about in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, and it was very likely that the person was sick or injured. Chapter 119. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Ban Xiao's left arm was wrapped in a plaster cast and hung with a white bandage. Faint bloodstains could be seen on the white bandage. Ding Zi's head was also bandaged. The wound was definitely not light, and there were also bloodstains. Additionally, his back was bare, and his shoulders and back were wrapped with bandages. Other parts of his body were also black and blue. The other two men were a bit better than Ban's Ho and Ding Zi, but they were also badly bruised and had minor injuries on their bodies. The four of them squatted at the door of the corridor, smoking cigarettes while looking at the door of room 405 across the street. They were afraid that the people who had injured them would be so bold that they would rush into the hospital to commit murder. "Big brother Ban's Ho, what did boss say?" Ding Zi quickly asked after seeing Ban's Ho put away his mobile. Ban's Ho replied with a deep voice, "Boss said he'll come immediately." Ding Zi and the other three secretly heaved a sigh of relief. They admired Tan Xiu's fighting prowess. Although they still didn't know Tan Xiu's specific details, but since Tan Xiu could live in Southgate Town, he seemed to have a very powerful friend. They believed that he would be able to solve this matter. Banzhou said, "Dingzi, call Little Dong and ask him how the investigation is going. That surname Tai can find so many gangsters, so his identity and background are absolutely not ordinary. We can't put all our hopes on Boss. In case the other party's background is really strong, even if we have to gather all our brothers, we must fiercely fight with them." That's right. Our current life has just changed a bit, and the good days are getting closer and closer. Boss is so good to us, we must fight with him. Another youth smashed his cigarette butt on the floor and stamped it with his foot as he fiercely shouted. "Shut up!" Banzhou angrily shouted with a straight face. That youth snorted resentfully, but the fighting intent in his eyes was particularly intense. Dingzi took out his mobile and dialed a cell number. After chatting with the other party for a while, he then hung up and said with a deep voice, "Little Dong has inquired about the other party's background. Tai Long has a company, and he has 2 construction sites under him. He also has a lot of thugs around him. The most important thing is that he has a good relationship with a lot of gangsters and gangsters. It can be said that he's rich and powerful." "So what if he's rich and powerful?" Banzhou sneered. "Our boss is willing to take us in and give us a chance to change our lives. He couldn't just let this matter go like this. We're not good people to begin with, and we've done a lot of bloody things. If the boss can't deal with Tai Long, then we'll hide and find an opportunity to fiercely beat him up. Even if we can't kill Tai Long, we'll make him pay a painful price. If worst comes to worst, we'll just go far away and hide our identities to live somewhere else." The 2 lightly injured youths hesitated for a moment. Then they made up their minds and said in a deep voice, "Then let's fuck those motherfuckers. If he doesn't let us have a good time, we won't let him have a good time either. I'll take the lead and be in charge of using the knife." Dingzi sneered again and again. Although he didn't speak, but thinking about Tang Xiu's trust in them, thinking about the new life Tang Xiu gave them, as well as how well Su Lingyun treated them, Dingzi hated Tai Long to the core. Star City's rich and powerful entertainment clubhouse. Inside the luxuriously decorated KTV private room, Tai Long had a cigar dangling from the corner of his mouth and a deck of cards in his hand. He was playing cards with 3 middle-aged men. Around them were 7 or 8 girls with heavy makeup. They served him tea, massaged his shoulders, and did their best to serve him. One of the middle-aged men had a girl sitting on his thighs, feeding him grapes. Seeing Tai Long playing cards, the middle-aged man shook his head, indicating that he couldn't handle it anymore. Then he said with a faint smile, "Old Tai, your luck is pretty good. You should be the winner of this game. It seems like seeing blood is different. I'll also take a few people to look for trouble some other day. Wait until I see blood, I'll definitely kill you and strive to win all of you." Tai Long sneered and said, "Seeing blood is not a good thing. This father's crotch is still hurting. That damned bitch, she even dared to kick this father's crotch. It's a pity that she's too old. Although she must have been very beautiful when she was young, she's just a woman now. This father has no interest in her. Otherwise, I'll definitely make that bitch cry in bed for 3 days and 3 nights." The middle-aged man sneered and said, "Old Tai, you keep bragging. Let alone 3 days and 3 nights, I think you can't even hold on for 3 hours. I said 3 hours, that's under the premise that you take 8 or 10 small pills." "Ha, ha." The other 2 middle-aged big men also burst into loud laughter. They looked at Tai Long's expression full of ridicule. Tai Long glared and fiercely smashed the cards in his hand on the table. Then, he casually pulled a girl with heavy makeup and quickly tore her clothes. After kneading and kneading, he directly penetrated her. This old Tai. The other 3 big men looked at each other in dismay. They revealed a wry smile. They didn't expect that Tai Long couldn't stand the stimulation and directly put on a live erotic show for them. It was as if he wanted to prove his ability. Ring ring. On the table in front of Tai Long's seat, the cell phone suddenly rang. A smiling girl grabbed the cell phone and looked at it before handing it to Tai Long. She pressed the answer button under Tai Long's instruction and placed it on his ear. What's up? Tai Long said, but his movements didn't stop. Big Brother Long, I just heard from a friend in the underworld that someone is inquiring about your details. A respectful voice came from the phone. Tai Long finally stopped his movements. He directly sat on the chair and asked with a sinking tone, "What's the other party's background?" "I don't know." Tai Long's mood was completely ruined by this phone call. After he pulled up his pants, he pushed the girl to the side. He looked at the 6 astonished eyes and sneered, "Someone is investigating me behind my back. Moreover, the investigation has reached my little brother below." The middle-aged man who was eating grapes frowned and lightly said, "This is not a good thing. As the saying goes, don't be afraid of thieves stealing, but be afraid of thieves remembering. Did you get into some kind of trouble? Or did you offend some powerful people recently?" Tai Long shook his head and said, "The construction project is going smoothly. As for the other guys, I've already talked to them. Also, those guys also know about my details, so they don't need to investigate me. Recently, I've been low-key and haven't offended anyone." One of the big men's expression moved as he said, "How come you haven't offended anyone? That woman you beat and hospitalized, don't tell me she has some background?" Tai Long sneered, "Impossible. I've inquired clearly. That woman is an orphan and a widow from the countryside. She's relying on her restaurant to make a living. Motherfucker. Which immortal did this father offend? Unexpectedly, she's investigating me behind my back?" The middle-aged big man lightly said, "Since it's not her, then you have to be careful. If you know who it is, then you can arm wrestle with the other party. But if you don't even know who the other party is, then it'll be troublesome. The enemy in the dark is the most fearful." Tai Long was silent for a moment. He made a few phone calls and then said, "You guys don't stay idle. Help me find out who it is. You have a lot of connections, so maybe you can find out the other party's origin." Alright. The three of them looked at each other and nodded. They and Tai Long were indeed friends, but there were too many interests mixed in it. They could naturally help to investigate the other party's identity. After all, Tai Long was also very important to them. But if the other party's strength was too terrifying, they would immediately withdraw. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, after Tan Xiao got down from Long Shuiao's car, he directly asked her to go back. He didn't pay attention to Long Shuiao's previous polite words. After all, he and Long Shuiao were not familiar enough to help him. The reason why Long Shuiao said those words was probably just to save face. When he rushed to the inpatient department's 6th floor, he saw Ban's Ho and Dingzi squatting on both sides of the door of room 405. Tan Xiao strode forward and asked with a gloomy face, "How are your injuries?" Ban's Ho and Dingzi saw Tan Xiao rushing over, and their eyes revealed a bit of joy. Upon hearing Tan Xiao's question, their hearts felt warm. Ban's Ho said, "Boss, our injuries are not serious. We'll be fine after recuperating for some time. Big Boss just had an operation last night. His arm is comminuted. I'm afraid his right arm won't be able to lift anything later. Other aspects are fine." Comminuted fracture? Was it that serious? A cold, killing intent seeped out from Tan Xiao's eyes. He nodded and pushed open the door of room 405. When he walked inside, he was immediately assaulted by the unpleasant smell inside. Moreover, there were 3 beds in total in room 405, and each bed was occupied by a patient. Moreover, there were many family members of the patients in the other 2 beds, and it was very noisy. "Mom, how are you?" Tan Xiao strode to Su Lingyun's bed and asked with concern. Su Lingyun was half lying on the bed. Upon seeing Tan Xiao, she immediately shook her head and said, "Son, I'm fine. What's going on with Ban's Ho and the others? I told them that I'm fine, so I don't need to tell you. But they didn't listen to me." Tan Xiao shook his head and said, "I told them that if something happened to you, they must inform me as soon as possible. I couldn't answer the phone in time because of some special reasons yesterday, so I came late." Su Lingyun said, "Son, you still have less than a month before the college entrance test. Don't let this matter affect your studies. You don't need to worry about me. It's enough for Ban's Ho and the others to stay here. Go back to campus quickly." Tan Xiao shook his head and said, "Mom, I already know the cause and effect of the matter. That surname Tai will never let this matter go. You don't need to hide it from me. Bans Ho and the others have already told me about it. Don't worry. I can make Bans Ho and the others turn over a new leaf, and I can also make those who injured you apologize to you. You just need to have a good rest and recuperate. I'll take care of the rest. Son, you can't act recklessly. Su Lingyun exclaimed. The other party is very powerful. You can't afford to offend them. Besides, as long as I stay in the hospital for some time, the other party's anger will completely dissipate and they won't make things difficult for us anymore. Chapter 120. Tan Xiu looked at his mother's worried face. After a moment of silence, he slowly nodded and said, Then I'll listen to you and won't look for trouble with them. Mom, if you need anything, just tell me. I'll tell Bans Ho to handle it. In addition, I have to stay in the hospital to accompany you for the next few days. Su Lingyun angrily said, No. You must go back to the university. If your college entrance exam is affected because of this matter, I'd rather die. Tan Xiu opened his mouth, but no words came out. He knew his mother's character too well. If he insisted on staying here, he was afraid that she would really do something absurd. All right, I'll go back. Tan Xiu sighed inwardly. He looked at the ward and said, But before I leave, you must promise me one thing. What is it? Su Lingyun asked. Tan Xiu said, Change the ward. This place is dirty and messy. It's not a place for people to stay. I'm not at ease if you stay here to receive treatment. In the ward, the 7 or 8 family members of the other 2 patients immediately became unhappy after hearing Tan Xiu's words. They angrily said, Hey, what are you talking about, young man? This is the inpatient department of the Chinese medical hospital. How is it dirty and messy? How is it not a place for people to live? Don't you know how to speak? Yeah, the conditions here are good enough, but you actually despise it. If you have the ability, why don't you transfer your mom to the VIP ward? People like you are already in the hospital after being beaten up, and yet you're still acting like you're worth something. You're just a student, but your tone is not small. If it weren't for your mom working hard to open a restaurant to support your education, food, and clothing, you would have already starved to death on the street. You're so arrogant now. If you have the ability, go and avenge your mom. If you have the ability, go and change your mom to the VIP ward. This Chinese medical hospital has VIP wards, but those who stay there are either rich or powerful people. People like you who run a small restaurant don't have much money and don't have any connections. How can you stay in a VIP ward? You still have the face to despise this place? You're really shameless. Young people nowadays, it was just unrealistic. When they really step into society and know how hard it is to make money, they will put away their arrogant temperament and live like cowards. Big sister, this son of yours? Tan Xiu didn't expect that his words would provoke so much mockery and ridicule. At this moment, there seemed to be a ball of fire in his heart. Before he could vent it, he heard these people talking all at once. He immediately became furious and said, All of you, shut up. Everyone shut their mouths. They stared dumbfoundedly at Tan Xiu, whose face was full of anger. 2 young men looked at Tan Xiu with unkind expressions, as if they wanted to beat him up. However, when they thought about the people who served Su Lingyun, none of them seemed to be kind people. Their arrogance immediately subsided. It was human nature to bully the weak and fear the strong. Therefore, the 2 young men snorted and turned away resentfully. Son, don't be so rude. Su Lingyun stared at Tan Xiu with an amused and angry expression. After reprimanding him, she immediately apologized to the others in the room. Tan Xiu took out his mobile and dialed Long Zhengyu's number. Hello, Brother Tang? You finally turned on your phone. I've called you many times in the past 2 days, but I couldn't get in touch with you. I personally went to Southgate Town, but your housekeeper blocked me at the door. Where are you now? I'll come to you now. We need to talk about something face to face. Long Zhengyu's voice came from the phone. I don't have time to talk to you now. Tan Xiu said in a deep tone. I'm calling you to ask if you recognize anyone in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital? My mother was injured and is now staying in the ordinary ward. I want to transfer her to the VIP ward. It's fine to spend more money. Who injured Auntie? Long Zhengyu angrily said. Wait for me, I'll rush there immediately. Also, I'll call the president of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital on the way there. He's my father's old classmate. The new inpatient building of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital was built by our Long family. Then hurry up. After saying that, Tan Xiu directly hung up the phone. A moment later, Long Zhengyu's call came back. Tang Xiu was flabbergasted when he picked it up. Long Zhengyu's voice was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh. Brother Tang, you haven't told me your mother's name and which ward she's staying in. Otherwise, even if I contact the president, he won't know who to call. Tan Xiu blushed with shame. After telling Long Zhengyu his mother's name and ward number, he then hung up the phone. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. In the spacious and clean president's office, Li Hongji was watering the plants in front of the potted plants. He was nearly 60 years old and had long passed the age of striving for his career without any regard for his own safety. Furthermore, the time for his retirement was fast approaching, so he began to delegate the power in his hands. He often cultivated his body and mind, growing flowers and grasses. He even hung a few bird cages at home and raised a few thrushes. He had been engaged in the medical field for many years, and his attainments in Chinese medicine had reached a very high level. Even in the Chinese medicine field in China, he was ranked among the top. Of course, the most important thing was that his master was the divine Dr. Gui Jianqiu. However, except for a few people who knew about this matter, most people simply didn't know about it. That brat Guixiong lost his face in Jingmen Island a few days ago and unexpectedly ran to Star City. If master knows about it, I'm afraid he'll curse him. A smile hung on the corner of Li Hongji's mouth. He felt that the matter of his junior brother losing his face was a bit funny. But he can cure that little girl's strange illness. What's the origin of that young man? Last year, that woman called Mu Qingping came to my place. Unfortunately, I was also helpless against that strange illness. Now that this young man has cured her, I really don't know which divine doctor's disciple he is. Li Hongji put the watering can on the windowsill. Just as he returned to his desk, his mobile phone on the desk rang. When he picked up the phone and saw the caller ID, a surprised expression immediately appeared on his face. It was because he found out that the person who called him turned out to be the son of his old classmate, Long Zhengyu. Why is he looking for me? With a surprised expression on his face, Li Hongji pressed the answer button and said with a smile, Zhengyu, you're looking for me? Did your dad ask you to send me some good wine again? Uncle Li, haven't you already drunk my dad's good wine? Long Zhengyu said. Li Hongji laughed and said, You brat, I'm not that amazing. All right, let's cut the chit-chat. With your character of, you don't call me for no reason, there must be something you need from me. Say it. Do you have any instructions? Uncle Li, instructions are out of the question. I'm looking for you for something important. Long Zhengyu quickly said. Something important? It was rare for Li Hongji to hear Long Zhengyu being so serious. The smile on his face quickly disappeared as he said with a deep tone, Speak, I'm listening. Long Zhengyu said, Uncle Li, I have a friend whose mother is hospitalized in your Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. He wants to transfer his mother to the VIP ward. Can you make an exception for him? Li Hongji was surprised and said, Just this trivial matter? Long Zhengyu forced a smile and said, It may be a trivial matter for you, but it's a big deal for me. Uncle Li, you should have heard my dad mention a person when you were drinking with him recently, right? Tan Xiu, a young man who is younger than me and is still a high school student. Tan Xiu? Li Hongji stared blankly as the name quickly emerged in his mind. In a flash, his expression turned especially serious as he said with a deep tone, Is he Chen Zhizhong's master? Long Zhengyu said. Li Hongji said, Since Tan Xiu is Chen Zhizhong's master, why didn't he ask Chen Zhizhong for help? Why did he ask you to contact me instead? You must know that Chen Zhizhong and I are old friends for decades. Our Chinese medical hospital also has a lot of business dealings with him. As long as he asks, even if he doesn't look for me, the people below will arrange it properly. Long Zhengyu said with a smile, I can't wait for him to look for me. This is a big favor. Uncle Li, you don't know how much Tan Xiu's favor is worth now. I have 2 friends in the capital. In order to make friends with Tan Xiu, they even decided to divert their family's billions of investment funds to invest in our star city. They even gave him the shares for free. Li Hongji was shocked and said, "What is Tan Xiu's origin exactly? Your dad said that he doesn't know. You have a good relationship with him, so you should know more than your dad, right?" Long Zhengyu said with a forced smile, "What I know is not much more than my dad. That Tan Xiu is unfathomable." Li Hongji said, "All right, I got it. I'll arrange this matter and immediately transfer his mother to the VIP ward. Also, the medical expenses will be free." Long Zhengyu said with a smile, "Thank you, Uncle Li." Li Hongji said with a forced smile, "Don't thank me. I'll be satisfied if you steal your dad's good wine to show your filial piety later." Long Zhengyu said with a smile, "Don't worry. I'll definitely have good wine to show my filial piety to you." After hanging up the phone, the smile on Li Hongji's face faded and his expression turned serious. He pondered for a moment and then dialed the phone number of one of the vice presidents. After giving some instructions, he silently went to the office chair and sat down. Tan Xiu? This name sounded familiar. Was it because Long Hanwen had mentioned it before? Absolutely not. Aside from Long Hanwen, there should be someone else who had told him. Who was this person? Li Hongji's eyes flashed with a pondering expression as he fell into silence. Room 405 on the 6th floor of the inpatient department. Tan Xiu was personally packing his mother's clothes and daily necessities. The sharp and unkind middle-aged woman's voice sounded in the surroundings. "What are you packing? It's as if it's real. You're just a high school student. Do you really think that you can send your mother to the VIP ward just by making a phone call? The patients who can stay in the VIP ward, which one of them isn't rich?" But, with that said, she fiercely smashed the toilet paper in her hand that had just been used to wipe her snot on the floor. Then, she walked to the bedside and sat down. Chapter 121. Tan Xiu turned around and looked at her. He coldly snorted and ignored her. Seeing Tan Xiu's silence, the middle-aged woman thought that Tan Xiu had a guilty conscience. She immediately became more arrogant and her words became harsher and harsher. "What's wrong? Did I hit the nail on the head? Do you feel shameful now? I advise you not to transfer your mother to another ordinary ward. It's not necessary to put on airs. Besides, your mother is injured now. If you have any filial piety, don't torment her. Young man, you're not reliable if you don't have hair on your mouth." Tan Xiu finally stopped his actions. He looked at the middle-aged man who was sitting on the bed and reading the newspaper. He lightly said, "Do you believe that I can make the people in the hospital kick your man out? I'm not wrong, right? Is this your man?" The middle-aged woman glared at him. Her voice instantly raised a few pitches as she angrily shouted, "Do you have the guts to say it again? You've overturned the heavens. Do you have the ability to make us leave? Do you have the ability to take it out? This old lady wants to see whether a little high school student like you can overturn the heavens or not." The middle-aged man on the bed also put down the newspaper. He looked at Tan Xiu and sneered, "Kid, don't talk big and cut your tongue. Your mother is a good person. She's docile and sensible. How could she give birth to such an insensible son like you? I really feel wronged for her." Tan Xiu shook his head. He turned around and continued to pack his things. As the saying goes, if you're not a family, don't enter the same door. The middle-aged man and the middle-aged woman were worthy of being a couple. They were of the same character. He really didn't want to pay attention to such people. Su Lingyun didn't expect that her usually well-behaved and sensible son would act as if he was possessed today. He kept saying offensive words. Upon hearing the man on the bed next to her, she quickly said, "Big brother, please don't lower yourself to my son's level. He's just a kid who doesn't know anything. I'll definitely teach him a lesson." The middle-aged woman who was being sarcastic immediately shouted, "Big sister, my husband is right. How could you give birth to such a thing? Did you listen to him? Is he speaking human language? They said that this was not a place for people to stay and that they could get the hospital to kick us out. He's really arrogant to the heavens." Bang! Tan Xiu frowned and was about to speak when the door of the ward was pushed open. A group of doctors in large white coats escorted a middle-aged doctor into the ward. In the ward, there were many people who recognized the person in the lead. He was the director of the inpatient department and had a lot of real power. Sorry to disturb everyone. May I ask who is Mr. Tan Xiutang? The director of the inpatient department asked in an extremely polite tone. Look for Tan Xiu. Why is her tone so polite? The sharp-tongued middle-aged woman and her husband on the sickbed looked at each other in dismay. A bad premonition grew in their hearts. I am. Tan Xiu stopped packing and said lightly. The inpatient department's director quickly greeted him with a smile and respectfully said, Hello, Mr. Tang. We didn't know that this lady was your mother. Please forgive us for our slight neglect. I just received a call from Vice President Gao, so I personally brought some people here. Vice President Gao said that he will be here soon and has prepared the best VIP ward. Your mother can move there at any time. Thank you. Tan Xiu nodded and said. The inpatient department's director looked flattered and said, You're welcome. This is what we should do. Tan Xiu said, Wait a minute. I'll pack up my mother's things first. Also, she's in poor health. You'd better send someone to push a cart over. The inpatient department's director quickly said, I'll send someone to prepare a cart. At the side, the husband and wife were dumbfounded. Not only them, but those who laughed at Tan Xiu before were also dumbfounded and tongue-tied at the scene in front of them. They never dreamed that Tan Xiu was not only not bragging, but also boasting in a complete mess. Who was the inpatient department's director? He was a high and mighty figure in their eyes. They had to talk to the inpatient department's director with a smile. Yet, he was facing Tan Xiu with a smile. Was he really a high school student? This thought emerged in everyone's mind. I'm sorry, I'm late. May I ask who Mr. Tan Xiu is? Gao Jianmin almost ran and rushed in from outside the ward, followed by 4 or 5 hospital leaders. When he learned from the inpatient department's director who Tan Xiu was, he immediately said with a smile, Mr. Tang, the VIP ward is ready. Your mother will be sent there later. Also, all the expenses of your mother in our hospital will be waived. If there's anything else you need our help with, we'll do our best to do it. What? The face of the middle-aged woman who had just ridiculed Tang Xiu turned as white as a sheet in an instant. Her eyes flashed with disbelief, and her body began to tremble. How could she not tremble? The vice president said that he would do his best to satisfy Tan Xiu's request. If Tan Xiu said something and drove her husband out, wouldn't she be beaten to death by her husband and cursed by her relatives at home? Moreover, her husband had queued up for more than half a month just to wait for the operation. He was about to enter the operating room, but suddenly this moth appeared. What would she do if her husband's condition was delayed? How would she live her life in the future? The middle-aged man on the sickbed was also panic-stricken. He fiercely glared at his wife, and then looked at Tan Xiu with fear and trepidation in his eyes. In the president's office, Li Hongji rubbed his temples and racked his brains for a while. He didn't know where he had heard this familiar name from other than Long Hanwen. Ring, 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 his cell phone rang again. Li Hongji grabbed the phone and looked at the caller ID. He immediately let out a faint smile as he picked up the call and said, Junior brother, I'll go back soon. If you're too bored, you can go to my study room to look at the books inside. There are several books of master's medical experience. Senior brother, I've read them all. Staying in your house is really boring, so I'm going to the imperial capital. I received the news in the morning that Master's Trail has appeared in the imperial capital. Chu Guoxiong's voice came from the phone. The imperial capital? Li Hongji's spirit shook as he said with a sinking tone, Junior brother, if you find Master, remember to tell me first. I'll go pay my respects to the senior. All right. Chu Guoxiong replied. Li Hongji said with a smile, Junior brother, you came in a hurry and left in a hurry. This senior brother hasn't properly entertained you yet. You don't need to take the matter from a few days ago to heart. You must know that there's always a mountain higher than a mountain. There are countless hidden experts in the boundless world of mortals. Even if Master knows about it, he'll just laugh it off. His words suddenly came to a screeching halt. His eyes turned round in an instant. The answer that he had been racking his brains for just now emerged in his inadvertent words. Tan Xiu? Wasn't that the young divine doctor who cured Mu Qingping's daughter's strange illness and made his junior brother lose all his face? That's right, his junior brother had indeed said this name. It was Tan Xiu. Could it be that Jingmen Island's Tan Xiu and this Tan Xiu were the same person? Li Hongji quickly said goodbye to his junior brother, Chu Guoxiong, and then hurriedly hung up the phone. While pondering in his mind, he dialed Long Zhengyu's number. "Hello, Uncle Li." Long Zhengyu's voice came out of the phone. Li Hongji asked with a hurried tone, "Zhenyu, I want to ask you something. You must tell me the truth. A few days ago you said that Tan Xiu, where is he now?" Long Zhenyu was confused. "Uncle Li, why are you asking about this? Tan Xiu had something to do a few days ago and went to Jingmen Island. It seems that he just came back a few days ago." "Jingmen Island?" Li Hongji exclaimed. Long Zhenyu stared blankly and asked again, "Uncle Li, is there something wrong? Why did you ask about Tan Xiu's matter? Moreover, you seem a bit surprised that he went to Jingmen Island?" Li Hongji forced a smile and said, "My junior brother came from Jingmen Island a few days ago. He lost his face in Jingmen Island, and it can be said that even my master's reputation has been implicated. And the person who made my junior brother lose his face is this Tan Xiu. All right, I'll talk to you later. I have to see this Tan Xiu." Hello. Li Hongji ignored Long Zhenyu, who still wanted to speak. After hanging up the phone, he hurriedly rushed out of the office and rushed to the inpatient department. Plop. In room 405 on the 6th floor of the inpatient department, the middle-aged woman with a deathly pale complexion knelt straight in front of Tan Xiu. With a fearful expression, she begged, "Tan Xiu? That's not right. Brother Tang, it's all my fault. I have eyes but failed to recognize MT Tai. Please be magnanimous and don't let the hospital's leaders drive my husband out. We've been waiting here for more than half a month for his operation. Seeing that it's our turn soon, you must be kind and don't let them drive us away. I beg you." In an instant, each and every one of the doctors who came to the ward had a strange expression on their faces. Even those who had ridiculed Tang Xiu before now looked worried. Another patient on the sickbed forced a smile and said, "Little brother Tang, we were wrong before. I've made a mistake many times in my life, but this time is the biggest mistake. Please forgive us fools and don't lower yourself to our level. Your mother is a good person, and I believe you're also a good person." "Mr. Tang, this is..." Gao Jianmin was surprised. Tan Xiu shook his head and waved his hand to signal the middle-aged woman kneeling in front of him to stand up. Then he lightly said, "It's good that you know you're a snob. I hope you'll pay more attention in the future. A loose tongue can cause trouble. Talk less and don't always bring disaster to your family." After saying that, he then said to Gao Jianmin, "It's no big deal. It's just a small misunderstanding. I'll have to trouble you to move my mother's ward." Gao Jianmin shot a deep look at the middle-aged woman. Then he smiled and said to Tan Xiu, "Please rest assured, Mr. Tang. I'll arrange it properly." Chapter 122. At the door, Ban's Ho, Ding Zi, and the others were dumbfounded as they looked at what happened in the ward. They had seen the ridicule from the middle-aged woman towards Tan Xiu, as well as the disdain from the patient's family towards Tan Xiu. But now, the situation had unexpectedly reversed 180 degrees. The boss was amazing. The four of them were filled with excitement, and their admiration towards Tan Xiu had increased by a few points. After all, not everyone had the ability to make the vice president of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital rush over with just a phone call. At this moment, the four of them were more determined to follow Tan Xiu. Soon, Tan Xiu had packed up his mother's clothes, daily necessities, and other things. After handing them over to Ban's Ho, Ding Zi, and the other two, he then carefully helped his mother, Su Lingyun, to sit up. At this moment, Su Lingyun was still in shock. It was as if she didn't know her son. She had never thought that her son would actually be able to make her move to the VIP ward. Finally, Su Lingyun sobered up from the shock. She looked at Tan Xiu with a complex expression and whispered, "Son, I think it's good to live here. Let's not go, Tan Xiao interrupted Su Lingyun and said, "Mom, the environment there should be better than here. Besides, there are too many people in this room. Ban's Ho, Ding Zi, and the others are here to take care of you, so it's not convenient. Just listen to me. I'll arrange everything." In front of so many people, Su Lingyun finally chose not to insist. She could clearly feel her son's filial piety. At this moment, her heart was filled with warmth. "Sorry, I'm late." An abrupt voice sounded at the door. Faint traces of sweat appeared on Li Hongji's forehead. After entering the door, he looked around before his eyes finally fell on Tan Xiao. "President." The doctors and leaders in the ward, including Gao Jianmin, all respectfully called out to Li Hongji. Li Hongji nodded and looked at Tan Xiao with a smile. "You are Tan Xiao, right? You are indeed a young hero. I have heard of your great name before. I'm Li Hongji, the president of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital." Dean Li. Tan Xiao was not surprised at all. He calmly nodded at Li Hongji. The other people in the ward, especially the sarcastic couple, were so scared that they almost fell to the ground. Never in their wildest dreams did they expect that not only the vice president of the Chinese Medicine Hospital but also the president of the Chinese Medicine Hospital would come. Moreover, looking at his enthusiastic manner, it seemed that he was also here to curry favor with Tan Xiao. The faces of the others were even uglier than before. They were really afraid that Tan Xiao would bring up the past again. If the director gave the order, they would definitely be kicked out of the hospital. Even Ban's Ho, Ding Zi, and the other two looked at Li Hongji with a dumbfounded expression. They were shocked and couldn't calm down for a long time. Li Hongji's brows slanted. He didn't care about Tan Xiao's attitude as he said with a smile, "Tan Xiao, my junior brother came to Star City a few days ago and told me about some shameful things that happened to him a few days ago. Do you want to know why?" Tan Xiao frowned and lightly said, "If you're here to chat about family matters, wait for me to settle my mother first. If you're here to help, I'll have to trouble you to act now. I'm not interested in knowing about your junior brother's matters, and I don't feel like it either." "Xiao, how can you talk to the president like that?" Su Lingyun panicked and reprimanded Tan Xiao. In her eyes, this Chinese medical hospital's president was a great man. He obviously came to be polite, yet her baby son didn't give him a good face. Tan Xiao sighed helplessly as he looked at Li Hongji and said, all right. What do you want to say? Just say it directly." An awkward expression flashed on Li Hongji's face as he forced a smile and said, "Tan Xiao, you're the young divine doctor who cured Mu Qingping's daughter's strange illness a few days ago in Jingmen Island's medicinal herbs market, right? Chu Guoxiong is my junior brother." Chu Guoxiong? Tan Xiao recalled the divine doctor's successor who had ridiculed him many times and finally made a fool of himself. He immediately asked, "Is your master also a Gui Jianqiu?" Li Hongji happily admitted, "Yes, he's indeed my master." Tan Xiao said, "Your junior brother's temper isn't very good. It's only right for him to make a fool of himself. If he's still brooding over that matter, I'll have to trouble you to tell him. Doctors are virtuous and benevolent. Don't look at the sky from the bottom of a well, and don't judge people by their appearance." Li Hongji's complexion changed. Upon hearing Tan Xiao indirectly admitting that he was the one who cured Mu Qingping's daughter in Jingmen Island, Li Hongji was not angry but happy instead. He excitedly said, "Mr. Tang, I've actually diagnosed Mu Qingping's daughter's strange illness. I could only detect her physical condition, but I was powerless to treat her. I didn't expect that she would be cured by you. I have a presumptuous request, but I don't know if you can agree to it." "Say it," Tan Xiao said with a frown. With a face full of expectation, Li Hongji said, "Can I hire you to be the medical expert of our Chinese medical hospital? You can rest assured that I'll give you the best treatment and the highest standard." Tan Xiao waved his hand to interrupt Li Hongji and lightly said, "I'm sorry, I'm not interested. Besides, I'm still a student and will soon take the college entrance test. I don't have the time to come to the hospital to provide medical services." Dumbfounded, Li Hongji looked at Tan Xiao with an incredulous expression. Student? Tan Xiao was a student. Moreover, he was a high school student who was about to take the college entrance test? Was this some kind of international joke? Everyone in the ward was shocked by Li Hongji's words. Never in their dreams had they ever thought that Li Hongji would make such a request to Tan Xiu. Gao Jianmin looked at Tan Xiu with a strange expression. He pulled Li Hongji's clothes and whispered, "President, are you joking? Mr. Tang's age." Li Hongji turned his head and glared at Gao Jianmin as he shouted, "What about his age? Don't you think he's young? Didn't you hear what he asked me to tell my junior brother? Who's my master? It's the divine Dr. Gui Jianqiu. You've been in this Chinese medical hospital for more than 20 years. Don't tell me you haven't heard of my master's name. His 2 personal disciples couldn't cure the disease, yet Tan Xiu can cure it. Do you think I'll joke around?" This, Gao Jianmin was speechless. He had also diagnosed Mu Qingping's daughter. Indeed, just like what Li Hongji said, he couldn't cure the child's strange disease. At this moment, only Su Lingyun was still sober. She didn't believe Li Hongji's words, so she whispered, "President, my son doesn't know how to treat a patient. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" Li Hongji said with a serious expression, "I'm not mistaken. If he was in Jingmen Island a few days ago, then the person my junior brother said must be him." Su Lingyun turned to look at Tan Xiu and whispered, "Xiu, tell me, were you in Jingmen Island a few days ago? Tell me the truth." Tan Xiu sighed inside as he said with a forced smile, "Mom, I was indeed in Jingmen Island a few days ago. The person who cured the child's disease was me. I didn't tell you before because I thought it was unnecessary. Usually, when I'm idle and bored, I often read medical books. I didn't expect that what was written in the book was correct. The child's disease was really accidentally cured by me." After saying that, he looked at Li Hongji and said again, "This matter ends here. My mother is still injured and needs to rest." Li Hongji shot a deep look at Tan Xiu. From Tan Xiu's attitude, he could see that Tan Xiu really didn't want to stay in the Chinese medical hospital to provide medical services. He even seemed to be deliberately avoiding his mother, not wanting his mother to know that he had medical skills. The inpatient department's VIP ward was much higher than the ordinary ward. Not only was it a spacious single room, but there were also specialized nurses to take care of the patients. Tan Xiu had always been aware that officials have their own social class and people have their own hierarchy. But he didn't expect that the disparity between the two would be so big. Li Hongji was a shrewd old man. He could tell that Tan Xiu didn't like to be followed by so many people, so he sent away the other leaders of the hospital, leaving only the inpatient department's director to accompany him. After settling down, he took advantage of the time when Tan Xiu walked out of the ward to sincerely say in the corridor again, "Tan Xiu, I didn't know what you were thinking before, so I said something that I shouldn't have said in front of your mother. I hope you don't mind it. I'm sincerely begging you to come to our Chinese medical hospital to provide medical services. Even if you only come every 3 to 5 days, just help us solve the incurable diseases. I really don't have time." Tan Xiu said with a dissatisfied expression. Li Hongji forced a smile and said, "Tan Xiu, there's still less than a month left. Aren't you going to take the college entrance test? After the college entrance test, you'll have more than 2 months of vacation. You can rest assured that we won't disturb you when you're busy. Nowadays, the doctors and experts of our Chinese medical hospital are at a loss of what to do. Looking at the patients suffering from the pain and the desperate expressions of their family members, we, as doctors, really feel very uncomfortable. This old man is begging you, please come to our hospital when you have time." Begging? Tan Xiu secretly rolled his eyes. This guy's voice was full of emotion and looked very sincere. He really didn't know how to refuse again. After being silent for a moment, Tan Xiu slowly said, "Once a month. I'll arrange the time." Li Hongji quickly said, 3 times a month, once every 10 days. Tan Xiu glared at him. If it wasn't because his mother was hospitalized in their hospital and they were polite to him, he really wouldn't have bothered to pay attention to this old guy. After pondering for a few seconds, he said, "Twice a month. I'll arrange the time as usual. Otherwise, don't bother me." Li Hongji was overjoyed inwardly. He secretly decided that he must make good use of this opportunity twice a month. A bright smile hung on his face as he said, "Give me your ID card. I'll help you handle the documents myself." "That's right. Do you have a medical qualification certificate? I'm still a student, why would I need that thing? Tan Xiu said without being salty nor light. I don't even want to be a doctor in the future. Li Hongji could only force a wry smile inwardly. He secretly sighed that geniuses were eccentric enough. But at the same time he could only say with a smile, since you don't have it yet, then I'll handle it for you myself. But you'll need to wait for some time. Nowadays, everything depends on the diploma and certificate. It will be much more convenient for you to mingle in the society later with those things. Chapter 123. Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment before he nodded. He suddenly remembered a saying, "You can go anywhere in the world with a certificate, but you can't go anywhere without one." This saying was the evolved version of, "You can go anywhere in the world with money, but you can't go anywhere without money." This was also a stark illustration of the importance of a certificate in the real world. In this era, people not only looked at the face, but also the certificate. I'm relieved that you're handling this matter. I'll be waiting for the good news. Tan Xiu said in a dull tone as he put on a posture that said, "You can go now." Li Hongji looked at Tan Xiu's appearance as he secretly smiled wryly in his heart. He was a dignified divine doctor's successor, the president of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, and a grandmaster professor in the medical field. Yet, he unexpectedly had no choice but to be humble in front of Tan Xiu. This is really fucking suffocating. Even Li Hongji, who had cultivated his mind, couldn't help but burst out a curse word inside his heart. Along with the departure of Li Hongji and the inpatient department's director, Tan Xiu's vision shifted back to Banzhou, Dingzi, and the others as he spoke with a sinking tone. Now, you can tell me the specific reason. Why did Tai Long have a conflict with you? He even dared to beat my mom? A bit of anger was revealed on Banzhou's face as he said, "Yesterday at noon, we were helping out in the restaurant. Because there were a lot of guests, there was a very long waiting line. Therefore, Tai Long brought a few people to our restaurant to have a meal. Because there were no seats, he asked us to drive away the other table's guests. Big Boss didn't want to, so Tai Long beat them. At that time, there were only 4 of us in the restaurant, so we couldn't beat him. Big Boss was also injured. Later, they drove away all the guests of our restaurant and even smashed the restaurant. After we sent Big Boss to the hospital, we were ready to go out to buy some daily necessities. As a result, just as we walked out of the hospital's entrance, we were attacked by more than 20 guys. After being beaten, we were thrown back into the hospital. Tai Long also threatened that unless the Big Boss kowtowed to him as an apology and compensated him with a satisfactory amount of mental damage compensation, we would have to stay in the hospital forever. Every time we took a step out of the hospital, we would be beaten up. After Dingzi tried to go out, he was beaten again. Tan Xiu was so angry that he laughed. Good, he repeatedly said. Good. In the past, he had always been the one to bully others. Who would have thought that he would be the one being bullied today? The 4 of you stay in the hospital and protect my mother while you recuperate. Leave Tai Long's matter to me. Banzhou quickly said, "You must be careful, boss. I know you are very powerful and your fighting skills are very high. But I've sent people to inquire about Tai Long's background. He's very powerful in Star City. Not only does he have a group of thugs under him, but he also has countless connections with those gangsters." Tan Xiu narrowed his eyes and sneered, "Only if he's strong enough can I continue playing with him. You don't have to worry. In this world, there aren't many enemies that can make me, Tan Xiu, afraid." He wasn't boasting. Even though he had to start all over again, no one would dare to say they were second to him when it came to killing people. Whether it was Chimen Dun Jia, offensive talismans, or even poison, he could poison tens of thousands of enemies to death. When he was at the bottom of the immortal world, he had used these unorthodox methods more than tens of thousands of times, right? Tell me in detail about Tai Long's background. All right. 10 minutes later, Tan Xiu got some information about Tai Long. He wasn't a passive person. He had to take the initiative to attack the enemy. This was his style. Walking out of the inpatient department, Tan Xiu had a headache. Without his own car, it would be inconvenient for him to do anything. He was considering whether he should take advantage of the summer vacation after the college entrance test to get his driver's license. At the entrance of the Chinese medical hospital, just as Tan Xiu walked out of the door, he was keenly aware that there were some sloppy youths in the surroundings who looked at him from time to time. They had dyed hair and wore strange clothes. Their sleeves were bulging. Apparently, they were carrying sticks and other weapons. It should be them. Tan Xiu's complexion turned cold. He quickly locked on one of the most obvious youths and walked over. "You? Come here for me." Tan Xiu stopped 6 or 7 meters away from the other party and then provocatively hooked his finger at him. The youth with long hair dyed purple had a few ear studs on his ears. His face wasn't handsome, but there was a scar left from his glorious history. The most disgusting thing was that not only was there a pungent perfume smell on his body, but he also wore a contact lens. "Call your sister." The youth glared at Tan Xiu and cursed as he slowly walked over. Tan Xiu lightly said, "I don't want to hit the wrong person, so I want to ask you a question. Are you one of Tai Long's men? If you are, call all the people nearby and follow me." The youth stared blankly for a moment before he immediately burst into laughter and said, "Brothers, did you hear what this bastard just said? He wants us to go with him? Ha! This father is Brother Long's man. You fucking know Brother Long. Why don't you kneel and kowtow to us and call us Grandpa? You're lucky. This is the hospital's entrance." Tan Xiu sneered. The youth rolled his eyes and looked at Tan Xiu as though he was looking at an idiot. More than 20 youths in the surrounding also laughed and cursed. They simply didn't take Tan Xiu seriously. They just felt strange and thought that Tan Xiu was a patient who came to the wrong hospital. "Brat, the mental hospital is in the East Outer Ring. This is a Chinese medical hospital. If you're sick in the head, go to the mental hospital quickly. Motherfucker, I'm not interested in beating a psychopath." In order to infuriate them and make them beat him in public, Tan Xiu lightly said, "You're the psychopath. Your whole family has psychopaths. You people should be local hooligans, right? The ancestors of you hooligans for 18 generations are all crazy." What? The youth was dumbfounded, and the surrounding youths also looked at each other in dismay. Never in their dreams did they expect that Tan Xiu would dare to scold them. In a flash, a thin and tall youth smashed the soybean milk bun in his hand at Tan Xiu and lifted his leg to kick Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu easily dodged the soybean milk bun, and the killing intent in his heart increased a bit. He raised his leg, which was several times faster than his opponent, and directly kicked him in the chest. Puff! The youth spurted out a mouthful of blood as his eyes turned white and flew upside down for 7 meters. Although he was not kicked to death by Tan Xiu, he still suffered serious internal injuries and directly fainted after falling to the ground. The more than 20 youths in the surrounding had just woken up from their stupor. They were startled to see their companion so easily knocked down by Tan Xiu and directly fainted. However, they believed that 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. Even if Tan Xiu had some strength, he wouldn't be able to withstand their punches and kicks. "Tang, Hu Zai, Dedong, Xiaoyang. The 4 of you go and practice with this kid. He dares to fight with us brothers. I want to see how much he is worth." Nearby, a man in his 30s approached. His eyes flashed with coldness as he ordered his men to teach Tan Xiu a lesson. But the 4 of them took out hollow steel pipes from their sleeves and quickly surrounded Tan Xiu. Almost in an instant, the 4 waved the steel pipes and smashed them toward Tan Xiu. Overestimating yourself. Tan Xiu moved his feet and appeared in front of a Chang in an instant. His fist directly bombarded a Chang's face, knocking out a few of his teeth and sending him flying with a kick. Tang Xiu easily dodged the 3 incoming steel pipes. His moves were extremely simple. Straight punch, uppercut, flying kick. From the beginning to the end, it didn't take more than 5 seconds for the remaining 3 young bullies to be knocked down. Moreover, his moves were ruthless, breaking a few of their bones. The pupils of the man in his 30s shrunk. Looking at Tan Xiu's invincible posture, an angry expression climbed up his face. Tan Xiu's complexion didn't change, but his moves toward Tan Xiu and shouted, "It was human nature to love to watch a good show." The scene of Tan Xiu being besieged by more than 20 people naturally attracted many passers-by to stop and watch. Many people were shocked when Tan Xiu easily knocked down 5 youths. But when they saw nearly 20 youths armed with lethal weapons pouncing toward Tang Xiu, they were secretly startled and broke into a cold sweat for Tang Xiu. This young man is really unlucky. How did he get into such big trouble? He's very good at fighting and can knock down 4 people in one breath, but nearly 20 people can't be defeated by an individual's strength. These hooligans are too arrogant. They even dare to openly commit violence in front of the hospital. Aren't they afraid of legal sanctions? Don't you know? This morning, a young man was beaten up in front of the hospital. It seems that it was also done by these people. They're really arrogant. The hospital doesn't even care. How can they care? They did it outside the hospital. Moreover, when the hospital's security guards rushed to the door, these hooligans had already run away after beating up people. Where can we find them? The police came today, but the beaten people seem to be deliberately hiding from the police. I really want to help that young man and beat these hooligans away. In broad daylight, these bastards are too arrogant. Tan Xiu's moves were extremely fast. His fists hit the flesh, and his figure was lightning fast. Although he only used 10% of his strength, he still knocked down nearly 20 youths in just a few seconds. Even the man with some martial arts background was seriously injured by him. He vomited blood and retreated. The young hooligans curled up on the ground and wailed in pain. Each and every one of them was extremely miserable. Steel pipes and knives could be seen everywhere around them. At this moment, the whole scene became dead silent. The surrounding onlookers opened their eyes wider than copper bells, and subconsciously raised their hands to cover their mouths. Each of them could feel their heart beating faster, and they could feel their bodies becoming weak. The feeling of horror was like monstrous waves beating against the shore. Chapter 124. Tan Xiu stood among the young thugs who were rolling on the ground. His eyes flashed with a cold glint, and the hatred in his heart had yet to completely dissipate. Therefore, under the watchful eyes of the public, he stepped on the 2 wrist bones of these young thugs one by one and broke them. You're just a bunch of social vermin who bully the weak and fear the strong. Since you're not afraid of the sanction of the law, then I'll use violence to curb violence. I'll make you unable to pick up a weapon for the rest of your life, and let you spend the rest of your life in regret. The broken bones of more than 20 young thugs made their bodies tremble violently, and their cries turned louder. Some of them were timid and begged, but Tan Xiu seemed to have not heard them. The 30-year-old man's eyes revealed a fearful look. He didn't run away after being injured, but looked at Tan Xiu with a vigilant expression. However, after seeing Tan Xiu's ruthless and merciless performance, he was afraid. He even regretted that he didn't turn around and run away just now. You don't come here. The man subconsciously stepped back and looked at Tan Xiu, who was walking step by step towards him as he involuntarily shouted. Tan Xiu coldly smiled. He instantly dashed forward and appeared in front of the man. His palm fiercely slapped the man's face. The man's cheekbone was broken, and his body flew out upside down. Tan Xiu also did the same thing as he stepped on the fainted man's wrists and broke them. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. But if people offend me, I'll pay them back tenfold. This was Tan Xiu's principle and also his bottom line. Every dragon has a reverse scale, and his mother, Su Lingyun, was Tan Xiu's reverse scale. If anyone dared to scold his mother, he couldn't wait to kill that person. But now, someone actually injured his mother, which really angered Tan Xiu. Suddenly, Tan Xiu's expression moved. He was keenly aware that 5 or 6 security guards rushed out of the hospital with electric batons. He didn't stop and directly slipped into the crowd and quickly disappeared outside the hospital. Chen Tao was the security captain of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. He was very angry today because some thugs appeared near the hospital early in the morning and even injured an injured person. However, when he received a report that more than 20 hooligans were surrounding a teenager outside the hospital, he immediately rushed out of the hospital with the hospital's security guards. What happened? Chen Tao stared at the scene in front of him with his mouth agape. A huge question mark appeared on his head. Didn't they say that there were more than 20 hooligans surrounding and attacking a young man? Why were there more than 20 hooligans rolling around on the ground? An old man in his 70s cautiously approached Chen Tao's group and whispered, "Are you the security guards of the Chinese medical hospital? Fortunately, you came late. Otherwise, there would be no one to teach them a lesson for their parents." That young man was really amazing. He had beaten more than 20 bad guys to the ground by himself. This old man has seen a lot of martial arts movies, but none of them are as exciting as today's scene. Chen Tao pointed at the ruffians on the ground in disbelief and shouted, "You mean, they were injured by a young man?" The old man nodded and said, "Of course. All of us are nearby, and our eyes are sharp. He single-handedly beat up all the hooligans who were armed with weapons. Furthermore, that young man said it well. Since these hooligans are not afraid of the police, then he will use violence to curb violence and solve these scourges and malignant tumors for society." Chen Tao shook his head and said, "Old man, please don't joke around. Even if one person is powerful, how could he possibly beat more than 20 people? Did that young man have a helper?" A middle-aged woman nearby said with a smile, "What helper? It was indeed that young man who beat them. You don't know. He's simply the reincarnation of Bruce Lee. It's like he's possessed by the god of war. His speed is too fast, his strength is too great, and his fighting prowess is too amazing. If your hospital's security guards can be half of his, no, 1/10 of his strength, you can maintain the safety of the entire hospital by yourself." Chen Tao's forehead was full of black lines. Subsequently, he inquired and finally confirmed that the person who had seriously injured more than 20 hooligans was indeed a young man. After asking clearly, since he couldn't find the young man, Chen Tao fiercely kicked one of the wailing and howling youths and then loudly ordered, "Take them to the hospital. After all, they're injured, and our hospital can't just watch them die. But ask them if they have money. If they don't have money, they can't treat these social vermin." "Alrighty." The other security guards were also impolite as they grabbed those hooligans like dead dogs and dragged them into the hospital. At the president's office, Li Hongji's smoking addiction was aroused. He rummaged through the drawers and found an unopened pack of cigarettes. He took it out and lit it up as he happily took a few puffs. In his mind, he was thinking that the Chinese medical hospital was able to win over such a powerful doctor like Tan Xiu. It would cause a sensation in the entire medical circle in Star City. It's not just the Star City medical circle, but the entire country's medical circle. Won't our Star City Chinese medical hospital rise to fame? This old man has been staying in this hospital for most of my life, and I finally made a contribution to the Chinese medical hospital. Li Hongji smiled as he thought about it. His face was glowing as if he had met the second spring of his life. Knock knock. Li Hongji looked up and saw Long Zhengyu standing at the door. He was immediately surprised and said, "Zhengyu, why did you come here?" Long Zhengyu entered the office and said with a forced smile, "Uncle Li, you old man, you only said half of what you wanted to say. How could I not come here personally? You asked me about Tan Xiu on the phone and said that he made your junior brother lose face in Jingmen Island. I was afraid that you would make things difficult for Tan Xiu in order to avenge your junior brother." Li Hongji was at a loss whether he had to laugh or cry as he said, "Am I that narrow-minded? Besides, I've clearly understood the matter. It was my junior brother's skill that was inferior to others. He couldn't cure the patient's strange disease, and instead, he looked at Tan Xiu's young age and ridiculed him. Sins committed by heaven can be forgiven, but the sins committed by oneself can't be avoided. How can I make things difficult for Tan Xiu for this matter? You stinking brat, you're looking down on your Uncle Li, aren't you?" Long Zhengyu quickly said with a smile, "So that's what happened. It was me who was narrow-minded and thought badly of the noble Uncle Li. In order to apologize to you, I'll go home tonight and steal a bottle of the best quality Wuliangye that my dad has treasured for more than 20 years. Treasured for more than 20 years? The best quality Wuliangye? My old classmate actually has the best quality Wuliangye that he has treasured for more than 20 years? Li Hongji angrily said, "That bastard Long Hanwen. He used to deceive me with trash wine before? Nephew Zhengyu, I really have to trouble you with this matter. As long as you can steal it for me, Tan Shio's expenses in our hospital will be waived. Also, I'll assign a nurse to take care of his mother. After saying that, his eyes suddenly turned as he chuckled and said, if you can help me steal 2 bottles, I'll use the highest standard treatment in our hospital to hire Tan Shio to be our hospital's Chinese medicine doctor. I'll give him a doctor's qualification certificate and let him take charge in the outpatient department. How about it? Long Zhengyu didn't realize it just now. Upon hearing Li Hongji's words, his eyes stared wide as he said with astonishment, Tan Shio has medical skills? You're not joking, are you? Li Hongji snappily said, do I look like I'm joking with you? Not only does Tan Shio have medical skills, but he's also absolutely a brilliant one. My junior brother and I are the descendants of a divine doctor, yet he was able to cure a strange disease that both of us couldn't. Don't you think he's amazing? Long Zhengyu stared blankly for a long time before he forced a smile and said, Uncle Li, I already knew that Tan Shio is amazing, but I didn't expect him to be so amazing to the point of defying the heavens. I haven't known him for a long time, and I haven't been in contact with him many times. If the other party also sent more than 20 people to beat all of Tai Long's men, they might not think that there was any problem. But the key was that the other party was only one person. One person? Seriously injuring more than 20 people, even the reborn martial god could barely achieve this, right? Old Tai, I just remembered that I have something else to do. Let's call it a day. If you need anything, just call me. Also, we'll talk about the parking lot later. I should also go back. My wife has been making a lot of noise recently, so I have to go back and appease her. Old Tai, we're all friends. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. I don't have enough people to play cards. It's meaningless for me to stay here. I'll go with you. So, in the huge KTV private room, only the gloomy Tai Long and his 2 trusted men were left. Looking at the backs of his 3 so-called friends, leaving, Tai Long fiercely grabbed a wine bottle and smashed it to pieces with a face full of anger. However, his heart was as clear as a mirror. These so-called friends were, in fact, a group of people who had their own interests entangled with each other. They were using each other to seek benefits from each other. Once someone was really in trouble, it was just like the saying, when a disaster strikes, everyone flies. A group of people who bully the weak and fear the strong. They have no morals. Tai Long cursed. He turned around and walked to the sofa to sit down. Things had already gone out of his control. He needed to think about what to do next. First, personal safety. He must ensure his own safety. Otherwise, if he encountered that vicious and merciless little bastard, he was afraid that if he didn't die, he would be crippled. Second, investigate the other party's identity. As the saying goes, know the enemy and know yourself, and you will always be victorious. The current situation was that he was in the light while the enemy was in the dark. He must figure out the enemy's identity. Only then could he prepare to fight or flee. Third, prepare to fight in advance. It was too late to mend the pen after the sheep is lost. His 3 friends tonight were all experienced people who had been struggling in the society for decades. They had meticulous minds and were as cunning as foxes. Their proposal was absolutely not wrong. He must be vigilant and ready to fight. Tai Long raised his hand to touch his chin. The light in his eyes was even brighter. He was able to build such a big family business with his bare hands. He was also a brave and resourceful person. After thinking for a moment, he grabbed his phone and dialed a friend's number. Daji, I heard that you have some friendship with the people from the Rising Dragon Martial School. I don't know if you can help me build a bridge? Meet the other party? I have some matters that I want to ask them for help. Don't worry. You will benefit from it. It's settled. I'll treat you to lunch. Let's go to the Long's dining hall. Tai Long put away his phone. The smile on his face receded like a tide. He looked at his 2 subordinates and spoke in a deep voice. Call some people to wait outside the Long's dining hall. Also, tell them to bring their weapons. In case the situation changes, we'll immediately act. You 2 must also bring your weapons with you. Humph, there are so many people who practice martial arts these days, but this father has never heard of anyone who can block a gun. The two tall and sturdy big men looked at each other with a ferocious expression on their faces. They heavily nodded and walked out of the box's door. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, two police cars roared and stopped in the parking lot in front of the hospital building. A valiant and formidable-looking Cheng Xueme stepped out of the police car. Chen Tao, the captain of the hospital's security team near the parking lot, hurriedly rushed over. "Captain Chen, we meet again." Cheng Xueme paced a few steps forward as she spoke with an expressionless face. Chen Tao smiled apologetically and said, "Captain Cheng, I didn't expect that you would grace us with your presence again. May I know what's the purpose of your visit to our Chinese medical hospital?" Cheng Xueme frowned and said, "Don't play dumb with me. The nearby police station has received a report that more than 20 youths are besieging a young man outside the hospital. The situation is very similar to the one in the morning. The one who was beaten in the morning doesn't dare to show up. What about the young man who was beaten just now? Our bureau attaches great importance to this thug incident. I hope you can cooperate with us and bring those thugs to justice." Chen Tao had received the hospital leader's warning that he must not reveal Tan Xiu's identity. Therefore, he lied through his teeth and said with a hollow smile, "Officer Cheng, I think you're mistaken, right? Our place is calm and tranquil. Where did those youths besiege someone just now?" "You?" Cheng Xueme glared at Chen Tao as she shouted with a stern voice, "Captain Chen, you know our identity. You should also be aware of the consequences of deceiving us. If our criminal police wants to investigate something clearly, no matter how you conceal it, we can get the information we want." Every time he saw such a scene, he felt as if he just drank a few mouthfuls of ice-cold beer in the hottest days of the year. The heavily made-up female secretary appeared behind the two tall and sturdy men at this moment. A gloating expression hung on her face as she looked at Tan Xiu and said with a sneer, "What do you think? Are you dumbfounded now? You're just an idiot. You didn't even inquire about our rivers and mountains real estate's background and just foolishly came here to die. But if you kneel down and beg for mercy, and call us a few nice words, maybe we'll spare your life. You also need to be taught a lesson." Tan Xiu coldly snorted. He instantly appeared in front of the two tall and sturdy men. His wrists flipped and instantly grabbed their wrists. Almost without much strength, he easily twisted and broke their wrists. The guns in their hands instantly fell down. Tan Xiu's figure instantly appeared at the door. After closing the door, Tan Xiu looked at the two men with a faint smile and said, "Now, you only have two choices. The first one is to jump from the window, and the second one is to be carried out from here. Which one do you want to choose?" The two tall and sturdy men's wrists were broken, and the guns in their hands fell to the ground. The heart-wrenching pain almost made the two men scream. Thick sweat appeared on their foreheads, and a horrified look appeared on their faces. The way they looked at Tan Xiu was as if they were looking at a terrifying Grim Reaper. Guns. The two men were also ruthless people. Seeing that Tan Xiu did not take away their guns, they instantly squatted down and picked up the guns with their other hand. The muzzles were once again aimed at Tan Xiu. Bang bang. This sound was not the sound of gunshots, but the sound of Tan Xiu's fists heavily pounding on their faces. Along with the blooming of the peach blossom reflection, the two men were directly knocked out by Tan Xiu. "Ha!" An ear-piercing scream came from the woman with heavy makeup. She was like a frightened rabbit, her body shivering as she hid in the corner of the wall. A grim smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth. He kicked the gun to the woman and said with a faint smile, "I'll give you a chance to live. Otherwise, I really don't mind throwing you down from here. Think about the consequences of me throwing you off the cliff. This is more than a dozen floors high in the air, and your body should fall headfirst. Just like a watermelon, pa. Don't kill me." The woman screamed with a face full of fear. Regret. It was like a viper biting her heart. She regretted that she jumped out to provoke Tan Xiu by relying on the two thugs of her boss. She regretted that she didn't run away earlier. "I won't kill you, but you have two choices." Tan Xiu said. "You have two choices. First, you pick up a pistol and shoot each of them twice. Remember, you can shoot anywhere except their hands and feet. Second, I'll throw you down from here. All right, I'll give you half a minute. Give me your answer after you think about it. Half a minute? The woman's face turned pale. She looked at the two fainted burly men and then at Tan Xiu's indifferent expression. She gritted her teeth and quickly made a choice in less than 10 seconds. She trotted to the side of a pistol, picked it up and aimed the muzzle at the four thighs, and then pulled the trigger. Bang, 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 bang. 4 shots. The bullets hit the four thighs, and blood instantly gushed out from the 4 bloody holes. The woman looked at Tan Xiu. She didn't even dare to point the muzzle at Tan Xiu and asked with a sullen face, "Can I go now?" Tan Xiu nodded and exclaimed, "It's said that the most poisonous woman's heart is the sting of a wasp's tail. I've seen it with my own eyes today. You've made a good choice. Every man for himself will be destroyed by heaven and earth. Drop the gun and you can go. Remember, you're the one who shot those 2 guys today. If this matter is reported to the police, I think you can go to jail for a few years." "I absolutely won't say even half a word," the woman said while trembling with fear. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, "Then get the hell out of here. Remember, get the hell out of here. Leave this bullshit rivers and mountains real estate, and get the hell out of Star City. Don't let me see you again for the rest of my life." "I'll get the hell out of here. I'll get the hell out of here right away," the woman said resolutely and decisively. Although she was sarcastic and liked to bully others, she was also a smart person. How could she not see that Tai Long had provoked a ruthless character? Perhaps, this time, Tai Long would fall here. Even a martial arts expert with a gun couldn't beat this guy. Whoever provoked him was simply courting death. She had made up her mind to go to the property office to take a large sum of money, and then fly far away, never to return to Star City again. She even began to pray that she would never encounter this cruel and merciless god of death in front of her ever again. Tan Xiu looked at the 2 burly men who were hit by the bullets and woke up from the pain. He sneered and said, "When you were holding the gun, what did you say to me? My memory isn't good, do you want to repeat it again?" There were very few people here, and the temple rarely received any incense. In Tan Xiu's memory, there were only a few monks in the temple. He chose to stay there to avoid the eyes and ears of the police. Even though he didn't intend to kill Tai Long from the start, he still wanted him to suffer. His heart was filled with killing intent, but he couldn't start a massacre. Because this matter could easily expose his identity. Today was a society governed by law. Although he was not afraid of doing illegal things, he would still get into trouble. Returning to modern times, what Tan Xiu wanted the most was to be able to accompany his mother, live a quiet life, and earnestly cultivate. One day in the future he would be able to return to the immortal world, kill his way to the peak, and make his enemies who had betrayed him pay a painful price. Rivers and Mountains Real Estate Company. Cheng Xueme, along with 4 criminal police members, strode into the general manager's office. When they saw the scene inside the office, their complexions suddenly changed. As for the vice president who was accompanying them, a look of horror appeared on his face. What happened? Cheng Xueme and the 4 criminal police members immediately controlled the scene. One of the criminal police members picked up 2 pistols from the ground and quickly checked the injuries of the 2 burly men. Then he said to Cheng Xueme, "Captain Cheng, their injuries are very serious. Although their lives aren't in danger, if we don't treat them in time, I'm afraid they will bleed to death. In addition to the 2 gunshot wounds on their bodies, their wrists were cruelly broken. I estimate that they also have many fractures on their bodies." Cheng Xueme's complexion was as gloomy as water as she said in a deep voice, "Collect the evidence and send them to the hospital. Vice General Manager Li, please contact Tai Long immediately. We have an important case that needs his cooperation." Vice General Manager Li immediately took out his mobile and dialed Tai Long's number. But the result disappointed him, because the call couldn't be connected. "I can't contact our boss." Cheng Xueme asked in a deep voice, "How much do you know about your boss's whereabouts? What's going on with him today? Where did he go? Who did he meet with? Tell us everything you know." Vice General Manager Li forced a smile and said, "How could I know boss's whereabouts? If I can inquire about boss's whereabouts, maybe boss will suspect me of plotting something. Cheng Shuemei snorted coldly and said, "Your Rivers and Mountains real estate company has such a major case, and your boss is also a suspect. We will definitely investigate clearly who the culprit is. This case is suspected of intentional wounding, and there were also firearms at the scene. It's very serious. If you can contact your boss, ask him to contact us immediately." "Alright." Vice General Manager Li immediately nodded. The huge force made his throat taste sweet, and as his body flew backward, he spat out a mouthful of blood. "All of you are trash." Tan Xiu moved sideways to evade the fists and kicks of the other two. His straightforward attacks easily knocked down the other two. However, what surprised him was that Fei Chang's strength was quite strong. According to the current martial arts practitioners, although he had not reached the level of a martial arts master, he was not far from it. In time, if he could settle down and practice martial arts, he would definitely reach the peak in the future. "You are no match for me." Tan Xiu flew up and continuously kicked Fei Chang, who was retreating in front of him. Although he only used 10% of his strength in each kick, it was still a few thousand pounds. Fei Chang could not dodge and could only block with his arms. However, his hard arm bones were broken into several pieces after a series of fierce kicks. "Stop!" Fei Chang rolled on the ground and avoided Tan Xiu's kick with great difficulty. Tan Xiu ignored him. He did not need to guess to know what Fei Chang was thinking. Fei Chang wanted to admit that they could not beat him and hoped that this matter would end here. The friend of the enemy was the enemy. Since Fei Chang had been paid to eliminate a disaster, he had to accept the painful consequences of failure. Bang! Tan Xiu kicked his chest sideways. As Fei Chang's sternum broke, he did not hesitate to grab Fei Chang's arm and twisted it hard. Ah! The piercing pain made Fei Chang scream miserably. Tan Xiu slapped him to the ground and sneered, "A loser should have the attitude of a loser. When you agreed to help Tai Long, you should have thought about the consequences of failure. I'll cripple each of your hands as a small lesson. If you dare to commit crimes again, I'll personally break your good legs and left hand." After saying that, he no longer paid attention to the four people who were screaming miserably. His eyes looked at Tai Long, who had fled dozens of meters away and was constantly looking back. "Since you've come, it's impossible for you to leave unscathed," Tan Xiu shouted. His figure was as fast as lightning. In just a few breaths, he had already appeared behind Tai Long. He forcefully punched Tai Long's back, sending him flying 6 or 7 meters away and heavily smashing him to the ground. What a fast speed! Although Fei Chang was wailing miserably, his consciousness was very clear. His eyes had never left Tan Xiu's figure. Although he knew that Tan Xiu's speed was extremely fast, he didn't expect it to be this fast. What he saw just now was only the afterimage left by Tan Xiu. He found it hard to believe that the human body could be this fast. Even a martial arts grandmaster couldn't do it. In addition, his heart was also full of regret. He regretted taking this private job. Tai Long's pupils shrunk as he quickly promised, "You can rest assured. I'll never have any thoughts of revenge again. Look at me, do you think I'll dare to have any thoughts of revenge in the future? As long as you let me go, I'll immediately give you all the fixed assets under my name. Then, I'll leave Star City and never come back for the rest of my life." Tan Xiu was silent for a moment. He slowly shook his head and said, "You have money. In this era, money makes the world go round. Just like those 4 greedy guys. In case you want to spend money to hire assassins to retaliate, I don't want to be watched all the time. I'll give you all my money." Tai Long shouted loudly. A smile appeared on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth as he coldly said, "If that's the case, then I won't be polite. Do you know Zhenyu Long?" Tai Long hurriedly nodded and said, "I do. He's the general manager of the Long Group. The project I've handled was in cooperation with the Long Group." Tan Xiu lightly said, "After you go back, transfer all the assets under your name to Zhenyu Long. That guy will give it to me in cash." "You know Chief Long? What's your relationship with him?" Tai Long hurriedly asked. A moment ago, the thought of revenge did appear in his mind. Moreover, it was very crazy. But when he heard Tan Xiu mention Zhenyu Long, it was as if a basin of cold water was poured on his head. It made his revenge mentality instantly recede by half. Tan Xiu lightly said, "We're barely friends." Tai Long was perfectly aware of the Long group's background. He also knew how powerful the Long family was. Upon hearing Tan Xiu's words, apart from deep regret, he couldn't find any other emotion in his heart. If he had known that Tan Xiu was Zheng Long's friend, even if he had 10 times more courage, he wouldn't have dared to smash Tan Xiu's family's restaurant and injure Tan Xiu's mother and men. Karma. An eye for an eye. Tai Long's heart turned gloomy. After thoroughly dispelling the thought of retaliating against Tan Xiu, he thought about how he had fallen to such an end. If he were to stay in Star City later, those people he had offended would probably retaliate against him crazily. After being silent for a moment, he bitterly said, "I'll give all my assets to Chief Long. Even if I want to keep it for myself, I'm afraid he'll be able to find it. Besides, I've already become a cripple. After I go back, I'll immediately ask my wife to take me away." Sweat. After Quiet Night's update slowed down, the book review and comment section was full of curses. Quiet Night is a human, not a writing machine. Also, I don't know what kind of mentality those people have when they say that the return from the immortal world is not good. Everyone has their own preferences. Quiet Night is not R&B. I can't guarantee that everyone will like me. As long as there are brothers and sisters who like Quiet Night and the stories told by him, it's fine. Chapter 130. Tan Xiu didn't have the slightest pity for Tai Long. He casually hummed and directly knocked him out. Then he came to Fei Chang's side and lightly said, "You are responsible for sending that guy back. If he implicates you and you hate him in your heart, you can kill him halfway. Remember today's matter. I'll personally visit your Rising Dragon Martial School next month when I have time." "Don't." Fei Chang's face revealed a frightened expression as he begged, "Brother, please don't go to our martial school. We took a private job without the schoolmaster's knowledge. He's an upright and plain-spoken senior, and he's extremely strict with us. If he knows that we took a private job outside and did some shady business, he'll definitely kill us. I beg you. We assure you that we'll never take a private job again. We'll never do anything that's against reason and nature again." Tan Xiu indifferently said, "If you knew it would be like this, why did you do it in the first place? However, it's good to know one's mistake and correct it. I hope you'll behave yourself in the future." After saying that, Tan Xiu didn't stay any longer and directly walked down the mountain. After dealing with Tai Long's matter, Tan Xiu didn't immediately go to the hospital, but returned to South Gate Town. After finding the missed calls and messages, Tan Xiu stood in the bedroom on the second floor of the villa and dialed the number of his teacher in charge, Han Qingwu. "Tan Xiu, where have you been? Are you still a student or not? Do you still want to go back to school?" The phone had just been connected when Han Qingwu's angry roar came from the phone. Tan Xiu removed the phone. After hearing Han Qingwu's roar, he lightly smiled and said, "Miss Han, I also want to go back to school. But something happened at home after I returned to Star City. So, I'm afraid I'll have to wait for 2 days before I can go back to school." "Something happened at home? What happened?" Han Qingwu's anger subsided a lot, and her tone carried a lot of concern. "My mom's restaurant was smashed by someone," said Tang Xiu. "My mom and a few of the waiters in the restaurant were also injured. My mother is still in the hospital." Han Qingwu said angrily, "Who did this? Which hospital is your mother in? Which ward is he in?" "I'll rush over after my next class." Tan Xiu said, "Miss Han, this matter has been solved. I only need to ask for 2 more days of leave before I can go back to school. There was no need for Miss Han to come over personally. In addition, there's something I want to discuss with you." "What is it?" Han Qingwu also realized that she was too impatient, so when she saw Tan Xiu change the topic, she immediately asked. Tan Xiu said, "I promised Yuan Chuling, Qing Yannan, and the others that I'll help them review every night so that their grades will improve. So, can you make an exception and let them come to my house instead of going to school every night? I'll tutor them myself." Han Qingwu said angrily, "You want to skip class, right? If it's a mutual help between classmates, can't you help them review at school?" Tan Xiu said, "My review method is very special and needs a quiet environment. I assure you that if you agree, their grades will definitely improve when the college entrance test comes. Han Qingwu was silent for a moment and then sighed. Tan Xiu, I don't know why you don't like to come to school, but the college entrance test is coming soon. Can't you even persist for less than a month? Tan Xiu said helplessly, Miss Han, I really want to give them remedial lessons. You've seen my results. If I wanted to, I could get those results every single time, or even better than that. I have my own learning method. Although there's not much time left before the college entrance test, I'm confident that I can find the key points and improve their learning level. If you don't believe me, then I'll return to school in 2 days and I promise I won't mention this matter again. At the other end of the phone, Han Qingwu was silent. She didn't know whether what Tan Xiu said was true or not, but the last sentence about trust from Tan Xiu made her feel awkward. She believed in Tan Xiu. Ever since Tan Xiu amazed the world with a brilliant feat, she firmly chose to believe in Tan Xiu. The silence lasted for a long time. After 2 minutes, Han Qingwu faintly sighed and said, Since you're so sure, then I choose to trust you again. I hope you won't let me down. After saying that, she directly hung up the phone. Tan Xiu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Every time he talked with Han Qingwu, he felt that it was more tiring than fighting. In his heart, his feelings toward Han Qingwu were very complicated. After all, Han Qingwu was like his immortal companion in the immortal world. But that immortal companion betrayed him. He was rational, so he naturally couldn't hate her. But he didn't have any feelings between a man and a woman. Tan Xiu shook his head to get rid of the complicated feelings from his mind. Then he pulled out 2 unfamiliar numbers and dialed one of them. Not long after, Ouyang Lulu's voice came from the other side. Are you Tan Xiu? Tan Xiu rolled his eyes and snappily said, If not me, who else do you think it is? You missed my call, don't tell me you don't know my number? Ouyang Lulu angrily said, Who said I don't know your number? Tan Xiu, you bastard. You freeload food, drink, and stay in my house, but you just patted your ass and ran away. You didn't even say a word to me. Do you still think of me as your friend? Who's your friend? Tan Xiu almost blurted out these words. However, after thinking about it, he felt that what Ouyang Lulu said was also reasonable. He brought Mu Qingping and her daughter to Ouyang Lulu's house to eat and stay for free, so he should say a word to her before leaving. However, who told her to sleep like a dead pig and not get up at noon? Although I don't know why you appeared decades later, it's absolutely not a mistake. Tan Xiu, wait for me in Star City. I'll leave immediately. Toot, toot. Listening to the busy tone coming from the phone, Tan Xiu felt a bit strange inside. Gu Xiaoxue said that her master was looking for him. What did she mean? Who was her master? What kind of relationship did he have with his disciple? Tan Xiu suddenly looked forward to Gu Xiaoxue's arrival. The mystery in his heart might be solved when Gu Xiaoxue came. After a long time, Tan Xiu put away these thoughts and called Long Zhengyu to tell him about Tai Long's matter. With Long Zhengyu's help, Tan Xiu wasn't afraid that Tai Long would dare to play dirty tricks. Although he didn't know much about the Long family, but for them to be respected by so many people, they must have a very deep background. Knock, knock. The door was knocked as Gu Yin quickly ran into the room with a smile on her face. Tan Xiu turned around and looked at Gu Yin with a smile. How's your cultivation these days? Has your perception of qi become stronger? Gu Yin pulled Tan Xiu's hand and said with a playful smile, Master, not only Yinin's perception of qi has become stronger, but I can also control the airflow. I've been controlling the flow of qi in my meridians according to the cultivation technique you gave me. Although the speed is very slow, I can now circulate it several times a day. So fast? Tan Xiu was shocked. Although he knew that Gu Yin's dual meridian ice phoenix holy body was a 1 in a billion cultivation holy body, but he didn't expect it to be so heaven-defying. Just a few days? She can control the flow of qi in her meridians? No wonder. No wonder the woman with the dual meridian ice phoenix holy body was able to take the step that millions of immortals were unable to take and ascend to the God realm. Chapter 131. Tan Xiu couldn't practice his previous cultivation technique and could only practice the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, But Gu Yin could practice the cultivation techniques of the immortal world. He also had a deep understanding of cultivation, so it was normal for him to give Gu Yin pointers. But this disciple of his was too abnormal. If she could maintain this heaven-defying cultivation speed, perhaps she would soon surpass him and become stronger than him, right? Tan Xiao forced a smile and shook his head. Suddenly, his complexion changed. A matter that made him speechless emerged in his mind. Cultivation resources. His current cultivation resources were something that he had only managed to gather with great difficulty. His precious disciple's cultivation talent was so heaven-defying that he couldn't afford to waste any time. But her cultivation speed was so fast, and the cultivation resources she needed were also staggering. Tan Xiao looked at the bright smile on his precious disciple's face, but he secretly complained inside. However, he couldn't afford to lose the child to trap the wolf. He steeled his heart and decided that he must go all out to accumulate wealth and plunder cultivation resources on Earth in the future. Once he became stronger, even if he had to go to the planets in outer space to find cultivation materials, he would try his best to meet the needs of his master and disciple. "You seem unhappy, master?" Gu Yin looked at Tan Xiao with a worried expression. She didn't know how she had made her master unhappy. Tan Xiao stared blankly for a moment before he immediately suppressed the helplessness in his heart. A doting smile appeared on his face as he stroked her soft hair and chuckled. "Master isn't unhappy. It's just that I'm thinking about something else. I'm very happy that my disciple's cultivation speed is so fast, so how can I be unhappy? But don't forget what I told you. Haste makes waste. You've just stepped on the path of cultivation, so you must steadily cultivate and improve your cultivation bit by bit." Gu Yin nodded obediently and smilingly said, "I'll remember what you said, master. My mother once said that a 10,000 feet tall building must be built from the ground, and the foundation is the most important." "That's right." Tan Xiao nodded with satisfaction. Suddenly, his expression moved and he asked, "Your body is fine now. Do you want to go to school? Originally, I planned to let your mother train you and take you to Nine Dragons Island. But she only had 2 months to study. Plus other things, she might have to wait until September. I'm going to let you study for half a year and then go to Nine Dragons Island after the new year. What do you think?" Gu Yin hesitated for a moment before she shook her head and said, "I haven't been to school for more than 2 years, master. I can't keep up with many courses. Can you let me join the training class? My mom bought me a lot of textbooks a few days ago. I'm going to make up for the lessons I missed without affecting my cultivation." Tan Xiao was startled for a moment before realization dawned on him. He said with a smile, "How about this? Since you've fallen behind a lot in your classes, I'll go to your tutor tomorrow and ask them to make up for your missed classes during the summer break. If you can catch up with your classmates before September, I'll send you to school for half a year. If you can't make it up to me, then forget it." Gu Yin nodded in delight. Tan Xiao smiled and said, "Go and play. I have something to do today, so I'll go out soon." Gu Yin was confused and asked, "Where are you going, master? Can Yin go out and play with you? My mom went to the mall to buy some things and it'll be a long time before she comes back." "I have something important to do, so you stay at home, Yin," said Tan Xiao. "I'll go out and play with you after the college entrance test." "You'll definitely be admitted to a very good university, master," said Gu Yin with a smile. "University?" Tan Xiao smiled indifferently. He had already made up his mind. Even if he had to enter a university, he would only be admitted to Blue City University. Blue City University was the best university in Shuangqing Province, an undergraduate university. Once he was admitted to Blue City University, it would be much closer to home, so he could often come back to visit his mother. Of course, if his mother was willing to leave with him to live in other big cities, he could also choose to enter a key university in another province. Going to university was meaningless to him, but it was his mother's wish, so he must not disappoint it. After leaving Southgate Town, Tan Xiao searched for several good advanced cram schools through the internet. The content of the courses were from the 1st to the 6th grade. In order to cultivate Gu Yin, he decided to spend a lot of money. Therefore, he must hire a tutor for the 3 important subjects: English, mathematics, and physics. In an office building near Star Cities by the Square, Tan Xiu found the new idea training course marked on the internet. The environment inside was good, and the entire floor was occupied by the new idea training course. The interior decoration also appeared to be upscale. Welcome. After entering the door, the receptionist lady greeted him with a cordial smile. Tan Xiu looked around and asked, "Show me the program list of your cram school." "Please wait a moment." The receptionist lady nodded with a smile and quickly took out a stack of documents from the drawer. She handed it over to Tan Xiu and said, "Sir, do you want to send your child to our cram school? We have a strong teaching staff here, and our education level can be considered as the top among all the schools in Star City. Almost all of the teachers have passed the teaching qualification certificate, and they are willing to give up the formal establishment to work here." Tan Xiu opened the program list. After looking at it, he found that the price of the tutoring here was very expensive. The grade was also very clear. The more excellent the teacher was, the more the course content was, and the more expensive the price was. Even in the end, Tan Xiu also found that the teachers here could also visit him as a tutor, and the price was even more expensive. "I need to find a tutor for the 3 subjects, English, mathematics, and physics, from the 2nd grade to the 6th grade. If possible, I'd like to start teaching the 2nd grade from tomorrow onwards. As for how to teach them, it's up to the teachers here." The receptionist lady's eyes lit up. She was a bit more enthusiastic about this big client as she said with a smile, "Sir, you really came to the right place to come to our new idea training course. You can choose the most expensive package we have here, and our teaching staff will certainly." Tan Xiu waved his hand to interrupt her and said with a deep voice, "Even the most expensive package you have here is far from enough. My apprentice doesn't study at school and stays at home all day, so he has plenty of time. I hope that you don't calculate it according to the class hours, but according to the whole day. It's best to give him 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, and 3 hours in the evening." It was the first time for the receptionist lady to meet a guest like Tan Xiu, especially when she heard Tan Xiu address him as apprentice. It was really unexpected. She hesitated for a moment and then said in a low voice, "I'll have to trouble you to wait a bit. I'll contact my boss. She can make the decision according to your request." "All right," Tan Xiu replied. He took the stack of documents and walked to the sofa in the corner of the hall and sat down. A few minutes later, a middle-aged woman in professional attire and glasses came out from the inside. After talking with the receptionist lady for a while, she came to Tan Xiu and said with a smile, "May I know your surname, sir?" Tan Xiu got up and said, "I'm Li Liping. You can call me Big Sister Li," said the middle-aged woman with a smile. "Our receptionist lady has just told me about your request. Such a request has never appeared in our place. What I want to ask is, are you sure that your child can keep up with our teacher's speedy course?" "I believe she can do it," said Tan Xiu. "Since sir can be sure, then I'm relieved," said Li Liping with a smile. "Our customer is our God, and we'll try our best to meet our customer's requirements. How about this? I'll arrange 3 excellent teachers to tutor your child in English for 3 hours every morning, math in the afternoon, and Chinese in the evening. We'll discuss and decide the schedule." "All right." Tan Xiu nodded happily. Li Liping spoke again. "What you mean is that after all the 2nd grade courses are finished, if your child can keep up with the course speed, he can immediately start the 3rd grade courses. After the 3rd grade courses are finished, he can start the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade courses. Is that right?" "That's right," Tan Xiu said again. "What about the time?" asked Li Liping with a smile. "How fast are you going to let our excellent teachers teach after he has finished 5 years of courses for ordinary students?" "I want it to start from tomorrow until September 1st, said Tan Xiu. "What?" Li Liping was dumbfounded. She looked at Tan Xiu with an incredulous expression and exclaimed, "You mean, from tomorrow to September 1st, in just 3 to 4 months, your child will be able to finish all the courses from the 2nd grade to the 6th grade, including English and math?" Tan Xiu nodded calmly. A bit of disappointment appeared on Li Liping's face. She snappily said, "Sir, we're an educational institution, not a place for you to joke around. If you sincerely want to hire our teachers here, I'll warmly welcome you and try my best to meet your requirements. But if you're here to joke around, then I hope you can end it here. The door is over there, and I won't see you out. Tan Xiu was dumbfounded by Li Liping's words. Wasn't it obvious that he sincerely wanted to hire a teacher? How did it suddenly turn into a joke? Did I not explain it clearly enough? Or did the boss of this new idea misunderstand me? Tan Xiu thought for a moment and seriously said, I'm not joking around. I'm serious about every word I said. My child may be a bit special, but special children need special treatment. You're the boss here, so you should have met a lot of gifted and intelligent children, so I hope you can do as I say. As for the price, we can discuss it. Li Liping looked at Tan Xiu with a strange expression. She shook her head and said, I've indeed seen a lot of gifted and intelligent children, but I've never heard of anyone who can finish learning the courses that ordinary children need 5 years to learn in just 3 to 4 months. Sir, teaching needs to be done step by step and progressively. Your way of thinking is a bit like pulling up seedlings to help them grow. You see, isn't it? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.